I'm going to be completely honest, these next couple episodes are some of my favorite of the whole series. So let's jump in with episode 10. Episode 10 begins with a book collector getting called in to check out this collection of these really old books. And the collector opens them up and finds that these are Grimm books, like really old Grimm books. And he's like, I need to take these back with me to where I'm at and look at them more, price them out and all. Meanwhile, Monroe and the rest of the Grimm group go over to Nick's and Adeline's house and checks it out. And Adeline has a nickname for it called the Foam, or as in fortress and home mixed together. And it's kind of amusing, but Nick and Monroe has a chance to talk, and Monroe asks a similar question to what Trouble was asked in the last video about, like, okay, so what is the deal with you and Adeline? Like, she definitely is a different person than she used to be. Like, what's going on? And like, Nick explains that, yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm on the fence about this whole thing. I mean, like, she's definitely a different person, and it's weird, and we have a kid together, and like, but I don't know what to think right now. So anyways, meanwhile, this collector who's in Germany, realizing these are legitimate, real Grimm books, decides to call his nephew in the United States who knows a Grimm, and that nephew of his is Monroe. So he calls Monroe and he's like, I have some Grimm books, I know you have a friend that's a Grimm, would he want these books? And after Monroe sees these pictures, he's like, I'm calling Nick up, we're going to get him over here and we're going to talk to him about this. Like, you really probably want these books, especially because you remember the end of last season, how Juliet had destroyed the trailer. Now, these can replace the books that were destroyed. The point is that he's going to think about it and call back his uncle. While he's trying to decide, his uncle's shop gets raided, but we don't see his uncle. And when Monroe tries to call back and say, hey, like, we're interested, Nick wants to talk to you and all. And he gets this other guy on the line with him, who's of course not his uncle, because his uncle was not in the shop anymore, and this guy's ransacking the shop. And so he picks up and he acts like he's like an assistant to his uncle when he's not. So Monroe, thinking that this is someone he can trust, gives him the name and says, yeah, I'm like, calling from Uncle Felix, this is Monroe, tell him to call me back when he gets the chance. But now this person who's invaded knows that this man named Monroe has some connection to Felix, the book collector. And so he's going to be searching this up and trying to find his way, very quickly realizing, okay, we're looking for Grimm books. Monroe sounds like the Monroe that people have been having trouble with, who's connected to a Grimm. They're not hearing back from Uncle Felix after a little bit, and then suddenly they get a knock on the door, and Uncle Felix is at their house now. And he's like, I need to talk to the Grimm right now. Call him up, get him over here, we need to talk. And so he calls him up, and Nick gets over there, and Uncle Felix has some of the books, and he shows them to them, and like, look at this. But then he says he needs $100,000 for the books.
$100,000? You kidding me?
Nick, not having $100,000 to spend on these books, decides to go to Adrian's Wall, the group that Trouble works for, and ask if because they work for the government, like, does the government have the ability to fork over that much money so we can get these books? Because you're going to be able to use them too. Like, I'm on your side, I'm helping you guys. These books are very valuable. This uncle, being a book collector, just refuses to destroy these books. From his standpoint, he doesn't care too much about the Grimm side of it. He just, like, these are old books. He doesn't want to destroy them, and that's why he's willing to sell it to Nick. But in the same way, like, he's like, I only have 24 hours, I need this money, or I can't sell you the books. Like, they're too valuable to just hand them to you for free. And one thing that really I love about this character, Uncle Felix, is just like, while watching this episode, I'm like, imagine being able to have a life like his. Just collecting old books. Like, yeah, do I want to get married? Yeah, get married or collect old books. I'm just saying, collect old books is just, imagine getting a hold of like really old books from like 500 years ago. Just, breathe it in. Just, you don't use the book. You don't read from the books as much as you just have them there. Like, I would totally. My two things is I would love to collect old books, old ancient medieval like weapons, swords, stuff like that. That would be cool. And then of course, collecting movies and stuff like that too. But even like those two, like, are a big thing. I'm like, just love myself a good, like, old. Anything before the time of the United States, I think, is awesome. The United States is only 250 years old when I'm making this video, and it's too young for me. I'm like, there are some awesome stuff that happened in the last 250 years, but come on, looking back at the 10th century, it's so much cooler. Just saying, like, that's so much fun. Like, anyways, but yeah, I'm like watching this episode, I'm like, wow, I wish I could be like him. But the point is, so the sad thing is Uncle Felix wasn't able to give them the books in time before someone breaks in and kills Uncle Felix. But they didn't get a hold of the books. Nick figures out about this, figures out where the books are being shipped to, and so he goes there to collect the books. And the two guys who had killed Uncle Felix attack, and Monroe, who's with him, kills them both. Very angry, like, you killed my uncle, and prepare to die. Like, no, it's pretty awesome moment. And so he kills them both. Now they have this chest with all these books in it. And after they remove all the books, these really old books, including one book that has the ancestry of all the Grimms up until Nick. Meaning, as Trouble points out, and we're not going to figure out until the end of season 6 about this, but Trouble was actually in that book. So now they have the ability to figure out who Trouble actually is. Because remember, she was an orphan who never knew her family. So now they can figure out where she is in this lineup. Who is actually Teresa or Rebel? How is she linked to the other Grimms? It's going to be pretty fun when we finally figure out about that. Yeah, the point is, like, this book would have been terrible to get into the hands of Blacklaw, because now they would have access to every single Grimm, because every Grimm is written down there. And so, terrible. Don't want that. But after they get all the books out, they figure out that there's something else in the bottom of the chest. And there's more weapons. They have more weapons now. And not just that, but Monroe messes with the lock a little bit and realizes there's a hidden spot where there's this hidden cloth. And then when they open up the cloth, they find 3 more Grimm keys. So now they have 5 out of the 7 Grimm keys. So they take that and they make the map. And they figure out that it is indeed the Black Forest. And so Nick says, well, it looks like we're going to the Black Forest. Boom, the end of the episode. Next episode begins with them searching, trying to figure out where it is, and they find a spot on the map with the X on it. And like, now we know where it's hidden. And so Nick and Monroe says, okay, we're going to the Black Forest, schedule the flight. And so they're going to the Black Forest. Nick comes back home and he tells Adeline about this. And Adeline is like, she used to be on the other side trying to get a hold of one of these keys. She knows how for the last close to 1,000 years, people have been hunting down people for these keys. So there is something dangerous about this. And she warns Nick, like, I would stay away from it. And Nick's like, we're this close, I really feel like we should go and find what this thing is. And Adeline finally is like, okay, but I don't want you to die. Like, I love you and all. And then they sleep together. And so now Nick and Adeline have slept together again, but this time it's actually, as Nick says later on in the episode, like, okay, yeah, but this time I was sleeping with the mother of my child and it was a little different and but yeah. Another step towards them being in a normal relationship. So then Nick and Monroe gets a flight out and they go to Germany. And they drop by the church where they think it's going to be hidden. It's too new a church, but the priest there who's a Vessin figures out, okay, there's a Grimm right there. And they decide they need to hunt down this Grimm. It's never explained fully if they are trying to protect the hidden treasure or whether it's that they work for Blacklaw and that's why they're trying to hunt him down, but they're choosing to hunt down Nick and Monroe now. Nick and Monroe goes and they figure out that it's actually just hidden in the woods, and so they go and start digging, only to open up a chasm into a hidden underground church, and they fall in. Meanwhile, back in Portland, there's an assassin running around trying to kill someone, and you figure out that it's Sean Renard, and at a rally where Sean Renard's at, and Andrew Dixon, the person he's supporting in the election for mayor, after Andrew Dixon gives his speech, suddenly the shooter shoots, and he shoots Andrew Dixon, not Sean Renard. So Sean Renard was actually not the person who was after. And that's where the episode ends. The next episode begins with Nick and Monroe finding themselves in this underground catacomb church and all, and they started looking around trying to figure out where it is, and they realized really what they need to do, they need to go back in time basically. They need to think as those people would have thought back then. So in the end they turn off all their lights, and that's where they see these glowing skulls pointing towards where the treasure is. So they find the treasure and it's in a box. They can't open it with the 5 keys they have, so they have to go back home to finally open it with the pick locks and all. So they find their way out of the catacombs, only to find that they're being hunted by the priest and a bunch of other villagers. And so they manage to escape, but Monroe gets hurt. So they're on their way back home now. Meanwhile, Adeline is helping Rosalie in the shop, and this old friend of Rosalie's comes in and threatens her. But when he tries to attack Adeline, without meaning to, starts getting her powers back, and she breaks all the fingers on his hand. And now Adeline is freaking out because she did not want her powers back, and everything was starting to get normal with Nick, and now this new thing popped up, and she's terrified that Nick is going to kill her because of her being a Hexen Beast again, and she's not sure if she wants to tell him yet. Also, Eve takes down the assassin and puts him in the hospital, where she steals his phone, and they back up all his contacts, and they give his phone back to him without him knowing, so that whoever he calls, they will know who it is, and they can track him and all. The only problem is Black Claw contacts the captain and says, I know who assassinated Andrew Dixon. He's in the hospital right now. He's just getting out. You can go arrest him. And so he goes and he tries to arrest him, and he ends up killing the assassin. Then the captain goes back and he's looking over the camera footage of the assassination, and he notices that the companion manager who he had been sleeping with looks directly up towards where the assassin was at, proving that she doesn't know he was there the whole time. And so he figures out she's behind this. And so he goes to talk to her, and she reveals that yes, indeed, he was taken out, and this whole time they were planning on having him taken out so that Sean Renard can take up his place and become the mayor. They revealed that they're Black Claw and they want him to be the mayor now. So now he has to decide whether he wants to run for mayor. Meanwhile, Monroe and Nick gets back and manage to open up the box to find inside a stick. So this whole time, all these people have been fighting over a stick, so they don't know what it is. And I will spoil a little thing here by saying that, and again, as I always say, go watch the episodes for yourself. But I will spoil one thing by saying some of the guesses they give around the table of what's going on with the stick is not fully wrong. It's onto something of the idea that the stick might be something bigger than just a stick. So anyways, but the point is that at that moment, Monroe gets really ill because of his injury, and because of blood poisoning, and so he starts dying, and they grab onto him very quickly, only to then have it so the injury just completely heals and he's completely healthy again. And they realize that the stick was the one who healed him. So, yeah, so that's these episodes. Again, some of my favorite episodes, because one thing I completely forgot about when I was watching these episodes was just the fact of, I remembered this whole plot going on with going to the Black Forest and getting the stick as something that happened in season 6, because it really plays into season 6. We see for the rest of the season a little bit of it, but really it's season 6 that has the reason behind the stick, what's going on with the stick. And so when I get to season 6, you'll hear about that more. I'm really excited for season 6. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Last night I finished season 5, and now I'm going to have to wait until like September to start reviewing season 6. And I'm like, why did I do that? Like, man, like, So I'm like, I'm so excited for season 6, but I love season 5 too. But anyways, but the point is, yeah, so I completely forgot that these happened in season 5. So yes, the stick is introduced in season 5, but really plays upon in season 6. Again, some of my favorite episodes. I really, this time watching, it really reminded me how much I would love to just be a book collector like that. Like, imagine collecting old books like that. And like, honestly, these episodes are some of my favorite episodes of the whole series, and just the plot going on here is so much fun. This is the first time you're seeing Nick leave the United States, and it's so much fun. Like, again, as I've talked about in previous seasons, the fact of thinking, okay, I love it when they have hints of outside the United States. Like, I'm a U.S. citizen. I love America. But I do love, because these stories just seem so much better when you put in that, these stories are not from America, outside of, like, the Wendigo and stuff like that. Like, most of these stories are not American stories. And so having it go outside of America for these stories, I love it. I just love when they do that. So I love seeing Nick and Monroe go to Germany. Yeah, these were really fun episodes. Stay tuned for when I put out my review for the next set of episodes. So next time, this has been the Movie Night Reviewer. Peter Wary, signing off.